Welcome inside the Impact Studio here on WCNC Plus. I'm Colin Mayfield here for the next hour. We're going to start with some breaking news. We have limited information, really no visuals or any video to show you at this time. But there was an avalanche reported out in Nevada, the Nevada County Sheriff's office. This is actually, in Truckee, California. So although it's the Nevada County, it is in California. And we're told that this happened around noon, that a group of 4 mountain guides and 12 other skiers were caught up in this avalanche. So at least right now we know that 10 of these skiers are missing. 6 are stranded after this massive avalanche in Truckee, California. So rescue crews, they are headed toward the 6 others. Obviously the sun will be going down in the number of minutes, if not an hour or two. Obviously they're 3 hours behind us. So just beginning to see, I'm sure, the sun go down. So hopefully they'll find these individuals, and we'll have an update for you as this story develops tonight here on WCNC Plus. We're going to start, though, with an update on the shooting that happened at a Rhode Island ice rink yesterday during a hockey game. It was labeled as a family dispute, but we're getting more information from law enforcement. Let's go to this right now.
Thank you for being here. As you know, we had the tragic issue yesterday, and we wanted to try to give you as much information as we can. We have a couple of speakers, but before I do, I just want to acknowledge and really thank. This is a very tragic situation where people are coming together, and all the support and the kind words, and it's about helping the families. But I want to thank Congressman Amo, Representative Magazina, Senator Reed's office. I know they're being represented. Senator Whitehouse, you'll hear from the governor, who's been very supportive. Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, Representative of Secretary of State's office, Leanne Bryan. I know the Secretary had talked to me personally. General Treasurer Diosa. I believe we have North Smithfield Town Administrator Scott Gibbs. Town of Coventry Representative Council President J.P. Verducci. You'll hear from the Superintendent of Schools, Randy Buck, and we have the Council President Mercer, members of the Council, members of the School Committee, as well as the Pawtucket Athletic Director, Dino, as well as many others. And if I missed any, I'm not going to go through the individual. We have Ron Bopri from the union, but this is where our community comes together in these very difficult times. I just want to recognize and also thank all of the responding organizations for their family, at the Family Assistance Service, as well as all of the others, but the Pawtucket EMA and the certain volunteers, the Rhode Island Emergency Management, Providence Emergency Management, Red Cross, Family Service of Rhode Island Medical Service Corps, Tide Family Services, Dorian Ray from the Rhode Island Crime Victims, and really somebody that was so helpful, but a partner was Ripta, who helped us yesterday in the very heart of the issue. So on behalf of the City of Pawtucket, we are deeply overwhelmed from the tremendous outpour of support that we've received across our state, and you see it here, supporting here. Yesterday, our community, but many communities, our state experienced an unthinkable tragedy and at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena. What should have been a joyful gathering of students, parents, athletes, and families and their friends became a moment of really frustrating and turmoil, and it's shaken the community of Pawtucket and the communities of all the representatives that are here in the state, as well as the core hockey community. I know Mayor Lombardi is here, also Mayor De Silva, and their communities were affected. So this is a statewide issue. And today we stand here all together with heavy hearts. We stand with the players, the students, the coaches, the families, the faculty and the staff who have gone through this traumatic, from the staff from the school districts who are dealing with this, and those cooperative and the high school hockey teams. The young men and the young women and the young athletes who took the ice, to the parents and their loved ones. They were in the stands and they witnessed this. And to the educators and supporters who make those programs possible, please know that the city stands behind you, the state stands behind you in your grief and your compassion and your unwavering support. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the first responders from all over the state and out of state, to our mutual partner aid partners who rushed to assist, from the local communities to the state and federal. The response from the public agencies across the state was immediate, coordinated, and extraordinary, and we really can't thank them enough. In the face of what chaos and danger, they acted with professionalism, courage, and care. Their actions helped protect lives and restore order during the incredibly difficult situation. We also want to recognize the remarkable bravery of the Good Samaritans who stepped in without hesitation, placing themselves in harm's way to stop that shooter. Their courage undoubtedly prevented further loss and injury, and we thank them for that. We are equally grateful for the health professionals who were there, present at the game, and rendered aid to the victims. Their skill, composure, and selflessness represents the very best of humanity, and they are true heroes. While this incident was deeply affected the city, we must acknowledge the difficult realities. This tragedy is part of a broader national crisis of gun violence and stark reminder of devastating consequences of domestic violence. We also understand the events like this can be deeply triggering, particularly for the survivors and the families impacted by violence. If you are struggling, please seek the help and support you need, and the governor will be talking a little bit about that. We recognize that the emotional impact of this event will not fade away overnight, and grief, fear, and confusion and trauma are real and they are lasting. Mental health support services are available, and we encourage everyone and anyone that needs them, that are affected directly or indirectly, please reach out. No one should feel that they must navigate this alone. Our city remains committed to clear communication, to supporting those impacted, and working closely with all of the law enforcement partners as the investigating communities continue to investigate. Pawtucket is a very strong and resilient community. We will learn from one another. We will support one another, and together we will get through this. I now would like to take a minute and turn it over to the chief, who will give you a brief update as to where the investigation stands.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again for coming. I know this is our third update since yesterday within a 24-hour period. What I can tell you again from yesterday is about 2:30 yesterday afternoon, Pawtucket Police received a call for an active shooter at Dennis Lynch Arena. Once we received that call, the police responded within 60 to 90 seconds. What we learned was that there was an individual suspect inside Lynch Arena that had fired upon family members. What I can confirm now is that the suspect was Robert Dorgan. His date of birth is July 15th of 1969. One of the victims was his ex-wife, Rhonda Dorgan, and also his son, adult son Aiden Dorgan. Rhonda succumbed to her injuries on scene at Lynch Arena, and the son Aiden succumbed to his injuries after being transported to the hospital. We have three other individuals, Linda Dorgan and Gerald Dorgan, which are the parents of Rhonda. They are at the hospital now. They are in critical care, and we continue to receive updates about their status. The final victim was Thomas Geruso. He is a family friend of the family, and he is also in critical care at the hospital, and we continue to monitor his progress. What I can tell you is that they were all at the event for a son, a juvenile son who was playing hockey. It was their senior night, and there was no expectations or any indication that there was going to be any type of violence yesterday at the arena. I can tell you that individuals on site, several bystanders, I would say that probably whether they have been family or friends of the individuals playing hockey, stepped in, they intervened, and at least 3 bystanders were able to circum the suspect. At that time, the suspect did reach for a second firearm, and he did inflict a self-inflicted gunshot wound, which is what he succumbed to on scene. I can tell you that there were first responders on scene outside of Pawtucket, several nurses, several firefighters, and they also rendered aid to the victims until fire personnel responded. Once police responded, obviously we were met with a tremendous amount of people exiting the arena. We were able to make entry, and we also rendered aid to those individuals until they could be transported to the hospital. Central Falls Rescue and Pawtucket Rescue responded, and they also rendered aid. What I can tell you from what we've learned so far is that this individual had responded to hockey games in the past to watch their son play hockey, and that this was not unusual for them to respond to watch a hockey game. Again, there was no indication from the family or friends that any violence was underway or that they were in fear of this specific individual. What I would like to say is, obviously the investigation is ongoing. We continue to look into maybe what the motivation was. We're not sure at this point what the triggering event was that happened yesterday. We are conducting several search warrants at this time, looking for additional information. We have reviewed several videos, both internally because it was a sporting event, so Live Bond was streaming that event for the families. We have also witnessed and we've combed through videos of parents that were videoing their individual children playing the game, which of that they love. So we have been kind of streaming through that to make sure that we're getting a clear picture of what happened. We ask that any video that may not have been forwarded to us is forwarded to the police department. We also ask that information that's coming out only come out through, obviously, the Pawtucket Police Department in the city of Pawtucket. We will be the ones that are pushing out the facts to you. So if you have questions, again, we ask that you reach out to us specifically and not to rely on social media posts. Those posts that are be putting out there are not necessarily accurate, and they're trying to spin a story in a different way. So we ask that you rely on the information that we're giving you. What I also can tell you is, again, we worked with several community events. We've worked with our local partners, our state partners, our federal partners. There was a lot of outside help that showed up on the scene. I can tell you right now we have individuals working in another state with the FBI trying to assist Pawtucket in search warrants that we have ongoing right now. As for any further updates, as we get additional information, as things come about, if we get any more videos or things that we can comb over, we were going to push out that information just like we did yesterday. As we get more information, we would like to share it with you, and then that way, you know, you have the story as it's unfolding. Again, what I can say is, the suspect did succumb to their injuries yesterday. Our hearts go out to the families that were affected. Obviously, the children that were on the ice. This was supposed to be a joyous event for them. It was their senior night at a hockey game, a normal high school game that should have gone on without any type of violence, whether it be inside the rink or outside the rink. So again, we ask that you respect the privacy of those families and just give them some time to grieve. This was a tragic incident that obviously resulted in a domestic violence incident that, you know, is unfathomable that had that happen in our city. So again, we ask that you respect some of the family members, and again, this was one large family that was affected. I'm going to turn it over to the governor, and then at the end, if you have some questions, we'll let you ask them at that point. Governor?
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Chief, it's another sad day in Rhode Island. Here in Pawtucket, just imagine, we all have families. To have virtually a complete family shot and several killed, I just can't imagine what those families are going through and the people who are close to them. So our thoughts are with them, and also our thoughts are with the city of Pawtucket, Mayor Grebian and the Chief. Thank you and your whole team for the response that you've had. And our role is to continue to provide the state resources as people recover wherever they need them. So here in Pawtucket, as always, Mayor, I stand here with Pawtucket and make sure that we reaffirm that commitment here, but also throughout the state of Rhode Island. This is an impact that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the state on many levels, whether it's just in families and friends, or it's in the communities that are represented in that rink, whether it's in the interscholastic sports territory, or whether it's in the schools that have been impacted. This is an event where we need to catch our breath, but also we need to respond, and we will. Too many Rhode Islanders know what it feels like to lose a loved one, or a neighbor, or a friend to gun violence.
Hey everyone, I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break as we cut into this Rhode Island presser. We'll come back though in just 2 minutes. We'll see you then. All right, guys, thanks for coming back here. We're going to go back to the Rhode Island presser about that deadly shooting at a hockey rink there.
Efforts in that area, we're going to double down in that area. That's a really important thing that we are going to move forward on to make sure that this domestic violence issue is one that we focus on as a state. Many members of our community are struggling right now, and I want them to know that our state is here to support each and every one of them. Director Mark Pappas is here today. I've instructed Mark to coordinate all the statewide efforts with all the different providers, all the different departments, whether it's at RIDE or whether it's in our health department. Mark will continue to organize that and make sure that we're deploying all those assets in a way that families and students and everyone that's impacted by this event will receive the help that they need. Today we put forward a dedicated statewide virtual support hub that you'll have that information on for anyone who needs any help, whether it's mental health services, domestic violence resources, guidance on how to talk with the students or children in all the communities. Yesterday I spoke to each and every municipal leader that had representation at the rink. Whether it's in North Smithfield with Scott, or whether it's in East Providence, Coventry, Johnston with Mayor Policina. Mayor Rivera, talked to her. First responders came in from Central Falls, as the mayor said. This has got a ripple effect that's going to impact families all around the state, Rhode Island, North Providence included in particular. So we're going to stand with the people in the state, and we're going to provide the resources in a difficult time, but that's our job, is to make sure that we're doing that, and we will. People who need help, they can go to governor.ri.gov/support-hub. That's governor.ri.gov/support-hub. They can see all the resources that will be available to them, and we'll continue to be on the ground, making sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we respond in a compassionate and thoughtful way. With that, I'll let Commissioner Infante Green come up and speak about the issues that are impacting the LEAs, all the education, all the students in the state.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mayor, for all the work. My heart is with the family and students who were impacted directly or indirectly by the shooting at the arena yesterday. Rhode Island is such a small state that the impact of this violence is being felt by all of us, especially students across our state. School and sporting events should be a safe place, a place of joy, a place of unity. Because we're so small, we know someone that was impacted by this tragedy, either directly through that person or somebody that was a spectator, but this has impacted our entire state. The unity that we saw when spectators came to support is the unity that we have in Rhode Island, especially at our sporting events. We are one. So we want to thank them, and we want to continue to move as a community. So I say to the students and the families that are listening, we are here. We're here to support you. You're not alone. Just because schools are closed this week, we are working, all of government is working to support you. There's a community of people here for you. If you need help during this hard time, and any of you that have seen the video, just by watching what happened raises our anxiety. Ask for help. If you need immediate help, please contact 988, the Suicide and Crisis Line. You don't have to wait to go back to school. The Rhode Island Department of Education will have resources on the website. We will also be linking to the governor's website, but there will be supports on how to talk to your students, how to have conversations from students to students, what the teachers can do in preparation for school to return and for the schools that are currently open this week. There will also be other opportunities throughout the state to come together to have conversations. This is our second event in Rhode Island, and we have to make sure that our community feels the state coming together to wrap around services and support, and that's what we're here to do. Estudiantes y familias, hoy estamos hablando con ustedes. No están solos. Quiero que sepan que nosotros tenemos recursos. La oficina del gobernador tiene una página donde van a ver todos los recursos que están disponibles para ustedes. El Departamento de Educación tiene recursos de cómo hablar con sus niños, cómo hablar ustedes entre comunidades y por favor, si ustedes están sintiendo dificultad, llamen al 988, prevención y suicidio y crisis. Ese es el número que ustedes tienen disponible. No tienen que esperar que las escuelas abran otra vez. Es muy importante que ustedes tengan los servicios necesarios. In addition to all the local resources that will be available on the website, RIDE has also collaborated with our partners at Hazel Health to provide virtual health care services to all students in Rhode Island. All Hazel visits are online, and students can connect from wherever they are, and they're available in 25 languages. Estamos aquí con esta tragedia. Nosotros tenemos una colaboración con los servicios de Hazel Health para ofrecerles servicios médicos virtual a todos los estudiantes de Rhode Island. Donde quiera que esté, pueden adquirir estos recursos y en cualquier lugar. Visit hazel.co to get started. Visiten a hazel.co para empezar. RIDE will be collaborating with school districts, offering supports as well as resources. We will be updating our website with additional resources for students, families, and the community at large. I want to thank all of you for the support. We have gotten an enormous amount of outpouring. I'd also like to thank our other colleagues from other states that have also given us national resources. Our schools are going to need that. Our superintendents, our principals, our teachers are going to need this support. With that, I'd like to turn to the superintendent of schools here in Pawtucket, Randy Buck, who will continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, all. Like so many across our city, the Pawtucket School Department is deeply heartbroken by this tragic act of violence that has shaken our entire community here in Pawtucket. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and particularly those who are grieving this evening. This tragedy, as you know, also has touched the Pawtucket school community as members of our own staff were personally impacted. We are surrounding them with care, compassion, and the full support of our district. We're coordinating a comprehensive response for both staff and students, including access to social workers, mental health professionals, and employee assistance services this week and when students return from the break next week. In moments like these, Pawtucket comes together. We stand united in compassion, in healing, and in a shared commitment to care for one another. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to the Chief for any questions.
Chief, can we just ask you, you said that the suspect's name was Robert Dorgan. The last thing you said, his name may be Roberta Esposito. So what is his legal name? And do you know if he came to the arena yesterday? Obviously he was armed. So was he coming there to kill? Or was he coming there to just watch the game and something?
So that was multi-part. So let me answer the first one. So legally, the name is Robert Dorgan. That's what we have on identification. We've also learned that the suspect does use the name Roberta Dorgan, and also Esposito. Again, we don't have a motive as to why the shooting happened yesterday. We can tell you that he did have 2 firearms on him. He was seen entering the building, he was seen leaving the building and then re-entering. We're not sure if he had them on him in the initial entry or not when the second time he went in. We're not sure about that.
Chief, was there a confrontation between the shooter and the family before the shot?
There was not.
Was there any conversation between them beforehand?
So
whether that was in person or through messaging before the game, was there any?
So what I can say about any conversations with the family, again, is that the family there that was sitting on the bleachers was affected. Some are still in critical care, so we're still gathering that information. From the video, it doesn't appear that there was any conversation or confrontation between the family before the incident happened.
Chief, was Robert Dorgan living in Rhode Island?
At this time, we have no indication that the suspect was living in Rhode Island.
Do you know if the guns were purchased legally, and if so, were they purchased in Rhode Island?
So the firearms were purchased legally, and we are investigating that with ATF, and we will release that when we have that information.
Does the suspect...
Could you let me finish the answer, and then you can ask the next question? As soon as we get that information, we will release it.
Was there any security in the building, and do you think there should have been?
So as for sporting events, anything like that, if Lynch Arena felt like there was a need for it, they would have reached out. There was no indication that there was any type of violence that was going to happen at the event. Like I said, it was a high school hockey game for a co-op team, actually 2 co-op teams, so multiple jurisdictions were affected. There was no indication that there was going to be violence. This individual had gone to many hockey games in the past. There was no past experiences with violence at any of those hockey games, so there was no need for police presence at that time.
Can you tell us where the reports are being conducted?
Not at this time, no.
I have a question maybe for the superintendent. Is one of the victims, Mr. Druso, the same one that's working at Shea High School? Is that the connection there?
So out of respect for the family, I'm not going to confirm that. But again, like I shared before, it has impacted our staff members. So I don't want to share that information at this present time. But thank you for the question.
For the chief, we've seen reports that the suspect had a license to carry at some point in Maine. Did he have a license to carry in Rhode Island? And what were the types of firearms that he had on him?
So what I can tell you for the 2 firearms we recovered a Glock 10mm, and we also recovered a SIG 226. Yes, that's correct.
It appears that Robert made some comments on social media the day before about this white trans people might go berserk. Are you investigating those comments?
So we have looked into social media postings. There were tens of thousands of postings. So it is going to take us hours to comb through those postings and see if there's anything that would have gave any insight into the incident that happened yesterday. At first glance, we don't see that, but again, there were several thousand postings that we're going to have to comb through. So that's why we've reached out anybody that sees anything on social media to obviously refer it to us. But again, there was tens of thousands of postings.
Chief, have you seen any link to any type of extremist groups?
Link with Robert?
Yes.
Not at this time.
Did he have a license to carry here in Rhode Island?
So again, we are confirming with ATF. He did have a license to carry out of Florida, so we are working to see if they had a license to carry anywhere else.
Could you speak to the specific impact on these specific communities impacted, like in Smithfield, and what their efforts are going to be going forward?
So, I mean, that's a question obviously for those individual communities. What I can tell you is with the co-op, there were several communities that were affected. Obviously, the incident happened here in Pawtucket. With Blackstone Valley, though, it was North Smithfield, it was North Providence, Providence, we had PCD, we had St. Raphael's, and then obviously we had Coventry, Johnston. So there were at least 6 communities that were affected, 7 communities including Pawtucket. So there were, 6 communities, that were involved. And obviously, the resources we have, we're working with the Attorney General's office very closely. We also worked with RIPTA last night, who assisted us. Also, we've also been in contact with our other partners locally, and state partners and our federal partners. And one thing that I can say is when a tragedy happens somewhere in Rhode Island, everybody responds. Everybody's been reaching out and trying to offer whatever type of assistance they can. We're in constant contact with the Attorney General's office. They're offering us that assistance when needed. And also what I can say is that during an event like that, it's very important that we come together. It's important that we respect these families and that we offer them the services that they so need. Anybody that was affected yesterday, we do have services set up at 175 Main Street. They can respond to 175 Main Street, and there are services there, or they can be referred if they need other services. But we are offering services right in Pawtucket at 175 Main Street for those families that were affected on the site yesterday.
Chief, did the family give any indication how they identified themselves? Was there some sort of transgender process happening?
So that really is kind of irrelevant to our investigation at this point. What I can tell you is the identification was in the name of Robert, and then we also know that the suspect went by the name Roberta. It appeared that the suspect was in female clothes yesterday, but again, that's nothing that had swayed the investigation one way or another. We're just trying to kind of factually put the pieces together and let that lead us on to obviously why this occurred yesterday. Everybody's looking for answers. The police department obviously is looking for answers too. We want to know why it happened, especially in our community. So that's what we're trying to do, trying to put together that timeline and answer those questions.
As far as the police investigation, what's pending?
Sorry, the chief of the family said that Robert Dorgan had mental health issues. Have you seen any history of that? Was there any treatment, any medication?
So we do not have medical records at this time. That's obviously an avenue that we'll pursue. But again, it has only been 24 hours, so these are questions that we're trying to answer. And again, we're working with a family that has suffered such a great tragedy. We're trying to, at the same time, respect some of their privacy and speak to them when it's appropriate too, right? Because this is one family that's been greatly affected, so we're trying to speak to them.
Chief, to shoot into a crowd of people and hit all of your targets, is there any indication of professional firearms training?
So it was very targeted. Like I said, and you saw from some of the videos that were put out there, he did approach the family individually, and he fired upon the family.
As far as the investigation, what else is pending at this point?
The investigation is still pending.
It's still pending.
Yes.
Now,
So
is there anything specific?
we were going to take the leads as they come, and we will follow through with them. Like I said, there's thousands of hours of social media that we have to comb through and other resources that we have to look at. And obviously, we're talking to people. We talked to hundreds of people yesterday, right? Everybody that was in the rink, we used RIPTA buses to kind of reunite them with their families, because obviously when the shooting happened, people were either exiting through both means of egress at the building. There are multiple doors, so everybody was kind of scattering. We tried to reunify them with their families and then bring them to the station, and then we spoke to them individually. We had services on scene yesterday to try to help them through that. Again, we weren't trying to re-traumatize them last night. We were just trying to get the facts, the story. So again, at some point, we're probably going to need to talk.
All right, folks, we're going to take another 2-minute break. We'll have more news, different stuff right after this break here on WCNC Plus. All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to continue our hour here. I'm going to go to Livingstone President Anthony Davis. Obviously, Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away today at the age of 84. We're going to get some thoughts from the president right now on Livingstone President on what he thought of not only his life and legacy, but obviously the sad day that we are in right now. Let's go to this.
Of Reverend Jesse Jackson. He passed away today at the age of 84. He is a man who was on the front lines of the civil rights movement. So many things. The protege of Martin Luther King Jr. separated after that assassination to do his own thing. A South Carolina native, went to North Carolina A&T. So many things there. A father. So many things that you could describe, and I've been seeing so much about Reverend Jesse Jackson. I want to bring in Dr. Anthony Davis, president of Livingstone College. Dr. Davis, I kind of stumbled through that intro because it's hard to summarize who and what Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, has accomplished in his life.
Wow, it's amazing. When you think about Jesse Jackson, it was one tag that you didn't add to his long list of accolades, a hero. Jesse Jackson was an American hero. When you think about Jesse Jackson, really being one who was the precursor to a Barack Obama, making a presidential run in 1984, registering voters all over the Deep South, and then coming to the convention with a speech that really critiqued and challenged America.
I saw on social media earlier, and I thought it was well thought out. It was simple. It was, I Am Somebody was the precursor to Black Lives Matter.
Right.
I am somebody. I remember hearing that growing up. I am somebody. Talk about what he meant to you. And you put it way better than I did. But talk about what Reverend Jackson meant to you.
So he meant a lot to me. And some would say, well, how did he mean a lot to you? You know, I'm 60 years old. But 1984, I'm in the United States Air Force. And, you know, that was during the Reagan years. And I'm on an Air Force base. I'm one of the only African Americans in my career field at that time. And I remember his speech to the Democratic National Convention. And I went to work the next day with a Jackson for President button on. And I was able to recite some of the lines that he said in his speech when he talked about moving from the racial battleground, and then now moving into the socioeconomic battleground. And that was profound because that was in 1984. And now fast forward to 2026 as I lead a historically Black college and university in the state of North Carolina, I see more clearly now what Dr. Jackson was saying, what Reverend Jesse Jackson was saying when he said, we're not a blanket in America. He said, we're really a quilt woven together by a common fabric. He challenged us. He said we have diversity in the color of our flag, red, white, and blue. But then he talked about red, brown, yellow, black, and white, all are precious in God's sight. He was talking about what makes up this America that we live in.
I saw an interview, and I haven't read the book yet, but A Dream Deferred is a book by Abby Phillip, the anchor over there at CNN, and it explores Reverend Jackson's political rise. And during the interview, it was implied that he was ahead of his time politically. Do you feel that way too? Because I've been hearing that.
I can't say he was ahead of his time. I believe that there's time and then there's timing. I believe that his timing was right, but it wasn't his time, and America wasn't ready to consider an African American to hold the highest office in the free world. But again, I said that he was a precursor to Barack Obama because it was that same convention where we heard from a young senator from Illinois, Barack Obama, where America said, maybe it is time. and then he made a successful run after being a first-time senator. So I'm not going to say he was ahead of his time, but it wasn't the right timing.
You talked about it. You are president of a historically black college, Reverend Jackson, a proud Aggie. Proud Aggie. If you go to homecoming, you would bump into to Reverend Jackson. Excuse me, Reverend Jackson. You would bump into Reverend Jackson. He was there. He was always at homecoming there at A&T. To see a figure like that for your students, how do you go about passing on his legacy, teaching to that younger generation, who he was? Because I mean, you're talking about more than 40 years ago when he ran for president, and he's still very active. And I know he dealt with some health challenges, but how do you go about teaching his legacy?
That's really simple. On the campus of Livingstone College, one of the 3 things that we tell our students on their first day when they arrive to the campus, that if you stay here and apply yourself, 3 things will happen to you. Number 1, you're going to unlock your potential. Number 2, unleash your power. Here's the most important lesson that we tell all of our students, that you're going to be able to have your purpose unveiled. And then you'll be able to live your life being a living logo of Livingstone College, resilient, relevant, and always ready. And so when you think about that, although Reverend Jackson was an Aggie, born and bred, he really is showing us, or shows us, that as long as you can be relevant in today's context, be resilient, being able to bounce back from anything, but always being ready to speak truth to power, that you can make a difference in this world. So I say that Reverend Jesse Jackson was a servant leader. When you think about how he tackled issues that others were unwilling to attack, but he was always a voice for the underserved, the underrepresented, but also the unheard. We're going to miss his voice. We're going to miss his voice in corporate America. Remember, it was Reverend Jackson that really challenged and started the Wall Street Project, that really opened the doors for so many African Americans. And so we're going to miss his voice.
One last question before I get you out of here, Dr. Davis, and you were so, as always, gracious with your time. I do want to ask, what are we not talking about? And I say we, I mean the journalists, the media. What are we not talking about? And what are we getting wrong? And what are the misconceptions when it comes to Reverend Jackson?
Well, I think some of the things that we're getting wrong is that we need to go back and remember some of his teachings. Some thought that they were radical back in 1984, but now in 2026, are they really that radical? Because still in one of the richest nations, one of the wealthiest nations in the world, we still are dealing with those who are unsheltered. We're now dealing with mass incarceration. There are a lot of things that we need to be talking about and shedding light on it. I believe that Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jackson, being a protege of Dr. King, he challenged us to say that darkness and light can't exist together. And I think we need to start shedding our light, or shining our light, to weed out the darkness that we see in our society today.
Yeah, I remember 2012 DNC here in Charlotte. He talked about that poverty. He talked about using your right to vote as a gateway. Dr. Davis, as always, thank you for your time, for joining us and talking about the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yes, and I'm glad. And and think about this. I'm someone who can talk about healthcare and the challenges and the disparities, being on the other side of a kidney transplant. There's so much more that we can talk about and speak truth to power like Reverend Jackson.
Yes, sir. Dr. Davis, thank you for your time. You have a great day.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to go to another 2-minute break. We'll come back with more news right after this. And just like that, we are back, everyone. We're going to go now to Reverend Al Sharpton, a friend, a confidant, a mentor of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Obviously, he passed away today. So we're going to get more from the Reverend Al Sharpton on what he had to say about the legacy of Jesse Jackson.
Good morning. About 2:30 a.m. this morning, around about 3, I received a text from Jesse Jackson Jr. that Reverend Jesse Jackson had passed. And a couple of hours later, Reverend Jackson's son Yusuf called me and put me on speakerphone, where I had prayer with the family as they stood around his bed before taking him out to the funeral home. So it has been a very sad day for me, even though we knew he was very ill. When the moment comes, you're not prepared for it. I first met Jesse Jackson when I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Pentecostal church in Brooklyn, New York, Washington Temple Church of God in Christ. And I'd become enticed with what was going on in activism because I was watching Adam Clayton Powell on television. My mother brought me to Bishop Washington, our pastor, and he said, no, I can put him with some ministers that's involved. He brought me to Reverend William Jones. And they made me the youth director at 13 years old of Operation Breadbasket under the national director, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jackson was about 27, I was 13, and ever since then, for 69 years, we bonded. The last time he spoke in New York, he spoke at the House of Justice for us. I can't think of a time that we were not spending time together. Now, he was a hard taskmaster. He would always get on me about, why are you on this issue? You need to be more studied on this. But he was one who was more responsible than anyone for teaching me activism. On a personal level, my family and I used to spend every Christmas at the Jackson's house. And the last 2 Christmases, took my daughters, one who's with us today, to Chicago. We spent Christmas night at Reverend Jackson's house just 5 weeks ago, and last Christmas. We would feed people at the House of Justice and then go to the airport in the afternoon and fly to be with him. So I will always be able to cherish that I spent his last Christmas with him and spent last days even when he could no longer speak well. What I think on a broader level is Jesse Jackson changed American politics. Jesse Jackson changed the civil rights movement. He was a consequential and transformative figure. And he changed New York politics. Let me go in that order. One, it was when Dr. King died, was killed in '68, he was talking to Jesse Jackson and Ben Branch over the rail at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. And Reverend Jackson was literally one of the 2 last people to speak to him. I always wondered how much trauma that must have been for him to witness Reverend King's assassination. He never would talk about it too much, but it drove him. He kept saying, we got to keep Dr. King's dream alive. He was 12 years younger than King, as I was 13 years younger than him, and he would always challenge me that your generation's got to do what John Lewis and all of us that were younger than Dr. King did. He kept the movement going by keeping the economic boycotts of Operation Breadbasket going, by dealing with diversity, by fighting for affirmative action. You must remember when the late 70s and 80s, when Reaganism rose and there was this backlash on civil rights, Jesse Jackson took the front with John Lewis and others to restore what Dr. King had done. We romanticized the 60s like they were never challenged. They were challenged. We had to renew the Voting Rights Act every 5 years. We had to deal with state laws. And it was Reverend Jackson that did that into our era of having to deal with racial profiling and driving while black and all. We learned all that from him. It was in 1984 when he ran for president that he changed the rules that primaries were governed by. Where in pre-Jackson, if you ran in New York, for example, and you got 104 delegates and your opponent got 100 delegates, your opponent got all 204 delegates. It was Jesse that made it be, no, you get your 100, they get 104. With him changing it to proportional delegate representation is how Barack Obama was made the nominee. Hillary Clinton won more big states, but he was able to accumulate more delegate votes. So he literally changed the party in '84. And then in '86, the midterm elections changed because he had registered so many new voters that had not been calculated before, that many of the states turned, and the U.S. Senate '86 became Democratic control and maintained a lot of the things that we would have lost under the Reagan era because Jesse Jackson registered those voters. In '88, he ran again, got 7 million votes, won the city of New York. It was his '88 race where he won the city, lost the state to the caucus, but he won the city of New York, which made us believe in '89 we could win, and we did by electing David Dinkins. David Dinkins was his coordinator for New York City in '88 and became the mayor in '89 off Jackson votes and the belief we could win it because Jesse Jackson, despite the controversies around him, won the city of New York in '88. So I'm not talking about somebody that just is some removed figure in history. He literally changed American politics, New York politics, and kept the civil rights movement going, and then raised some of us that have been in the forefront in the first part of the 21st century to do what we do. And he's been there with us. When we did George Floyd, he was right there in the church with us when I did the eulogy. He was there with us with Trayvon Martin. He never stopped. I once said to him, you already in history, you've gotten all the honors, why do you keep going? He said, I never learned how to retire. He said, you got to remember, Al, Dr. King was killed at 39 years old. Medgar Evers was killed at 39 years old. Malcolm X was killed at 39. We were never raised to be 40 years old. He said, I woke up one day at 55, there's no retirement plan for us. And he kept going until this morning. So my whole life and the whole country and the world was changed. Don't forget, he went and got hostages from Iraq, hostages from Syria, that no one else could get for this country. Never got the credit he was due. But he said to me that those that need the credit don't deserve it, and those that deserve the credit don't need it. Well, I'm going to make sure as long as I'm alive, he gets the credit. Reverend Jesse Jackson. On this Saturday, our regular Saturday Action Rally will be at the historic Mother Amy Zion Church. It's the church that Frederick Douglass spoke at. It's the church that Sojourner Truth at the altar changed her name from a slave name to Sojourner Truth. It's the church that Madam C.J. Walker's funeral is at, church that Paul Robeson was a member of. His brother was one of the pastors. So in Black History Month, we're going to dedicate the action rally this week to Jesse Jackson, which was the last organization he spoke for in the city of New York. Last time in Harlem, when he left the House of Justice, we took him to Sylvia's. And I never forget when he finished. We had to help with the fork. And he told me, wheel me into the kitchen. And he shook hands with all of the people in Sylvia's restaurant, shook hands with him in the kitchen. That's the last time he was here. So we're going to honor him. We're asking all of our city officials to join us there. We are the organization that Dr. Jackson worked with, and we're going to honor him this Saturday. We want all of them to come and give their condolences in a New York salute to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Any questions?
Yeah, Reverend Sharpton, what did he open your eyes to? What did he help you realize that you didn't know or weren't aware of, or how you got better?
He opened my eyes in two ways. He opened my eyes that we could make a difference, we could make change. that we could not be cynical. So by him running, as never had been an elected official, with most black elected officials at that time not with him in '84. When he ran and did that, I believed that we could make a difference. We could change laws. And which is why I went from just being bitter to trying to be better and be able to help change the system by not just fighting the system, but fighting it inside and outside at the same time. What he did for me personally, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. My father left when I was 10. Unlike many other ministers that I looked up to, I didn't come from a high pedigree, nice family with my father and grandfather and great-grandfather preachers. My father left. Jesse was born out of wedlock. He taught me, his slogan was, "I am somebody."
All right, folks, that's our show here on WCNC Plus. We will see you for the 11 o'clock news on WCNC Charlotte. We'll see you then.